China is quietly priming a $1.4 trillion Bitcoin price boom. It goes on to say Bitcoin has traded across a range almost 20,000 this past week as investors gear up for what could be an explosive weekend. The Bitcoin price has bounced back after dropping to under $80,000 per coin, climbing to over $90,000 as U.S. President Donald Trump Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick reportedly confirms a Trump bombshell. Now, after Elon Musk issued a surprise crypto price warning, China is considering ramping up its economic stimulus measures, something that's previously pushed risk assets like Bitcoin higher. And it goes on to say, watch out for, there's so many ads. Wow. Watch out for China. Arthur Hayes, a co-founder of Bitcoin and crypto derivatives pioneer BitMEX, who went on to set up the Maelstrom Investment Fund, wrote in a blog post predicting a final filthy fiat financial market convolution before the globe, led by the U.S., can retaliate and take Bitcoin beyond $1 million. Xi Jinping wants to keep the yuan stable against the dollar, whether for good or bad. If the dollar supply increases, he can instruct the People's Bank of China to increase the yuan supply, ensuring the dollar-yuan exchange rate remains stable. This week, China's central bank governor Ban Gongsheng confirmed the People's Bank of China will cut interest rates and inject liquidity into the financial system through cuts to the amount banks are required to hold as reserves. China's stimulus plans have been accelerated by Trump's tariffs on the country, which are threatening to escalate into a full-blown global trade war. In November, China unveiled a $1.4 trillion debt package to ease local government financing strains and stabilize flagging economic growth amid pressure from the re-election of Donald Trump as U.S. president. Quote, in previous instances, when China has ramped up monetary stimulus and injected excess liquidity into the system, in 2015 and in 2020, excess liquidity found its way into alternative assets. A spokesperson for Bitcoin and crypto platform Nexo told The Block, quote, such stimulus could have broader implications for global markets, increasing appetite across equities and alternative assets. And it goes on to say, meanwhile, unconfirmed rumors and wild speculation are flying on social media that China could be planning to create its own Bitcoin reserve. This is something that Gary said in the beginning of the show. Other countries are not going to have a choice but to follow in the footsteps of the United States if they go along with the U.S. strategic reserve. So it goes on to say, quote, China is now working double time to stand up their own strategic Bitcoin reserve, said CEO of Bitcoin Magazine, David Bailey. It goes on to say, quote, they've been holding closed door meetings on the topic since the election. That's not surprising at all. This is the game theory playing out in real time. So while everyone's paying attention to the White House meeting tomorrow, across the Pacific, China might be stacking the dip as we speak. Anyways, I mean, this is pretty crazy, not surprising whatsoever. This is the game theory. We all knew this was going to happen. This was an inevitability in the eyes of Bitcoiners. Gary, what are your thoughts? Is China going to beat the U.S. to the punch?
Whether they beat it to the punch is not really the deal. Is not really the concern. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier. And if they have to do an executive order to start the reserve, and then China goes and buys 1.4 trillion, do you really think they're going to have a really super hard time getting that voted through? You know, so if the executive order to start it is what makes China buy 1.4 trillion, that's going to come back to us, and then we're going to vote it in instead of it being an executive order. So that's a positive, really. Doesn't matter who goes first. But the thing I thought was interesting about that is how little people care about devaluing money. That they announced that if U.S. prints any money, they're going to print more. I mean, it's just like, hey, let's print the hell out of this stuff. Nothing to it. Turn the button on the computer. We'll have a lot more money here. Who cares what it does to the people? So, which we know they don't care anyway. But yeah, the real thing is, if China gets $1.4 trillion worth of Bitcoin, I don't even know how much Bitcoin that is. I guess that's got it.
That's most of the supply.
It's got to be over a million. I mean, so, but anyway, that's all I got to say is that it'll make US
Yeah,
vote again.
absolutely. So the market cap of Bitcoin, I believe, is 1.7 trillion. So, so they would essentially be buying almost the entire supply.
Market cap just doubled overnight.
No, it would.
Wow. That stuff's going to get expensive.
Bro, if they smash bought 1.4 trillion, that the price would go to $1 million, dude. More than that. No one would sell. No one would sell. Would you sell? I wouldn't sell.
Hell no.
I'm not selling. Opti, what's your take on this, man? Is China going to be? I don't think Trump's going to allow that. I don't think Trump's going to allow that, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, well, first of all, this is massive if true. Obviously, massive if it's true. We all know that when governments start, creating more money, more liquidity in the market, quantitative easing, quantitative easing, and all that liquidity will eventually find its way into Bitcoin. Money printers seemingly is going to go BRRR. And once they create more dollars, people either intuitively or very consciously understand that they are debasing the currency and they have to go in something that cannot be debased. And obviously, we always think that that's going to be Bitcoin. So if this is actually happening, this is huge. And like Gary was saying, like Nico was saying, the U.S. is obviously not going to let China just get away with this, let them print a bunch of money, buy a bunch of Bitcoin, stack their own strategic Bitcoin reserve, and then we sit on the sideline and not compete on the monetary level of getting our own Bitcoin. Like, that's just not going to happen. As anyone knows anything about politics right now, there's a few big men in the room, and China is one of them. And we're not going to let them win in this race to Bitcoin, especially when Trump's been talking about it and telegraphing this for so long. So if the money printer is going to get turned on in China and people are going to use some of that liquidity, get into Bitcoin, I'm sure we will turn on our money printer and the game just accelerates, and everyone sitting here will just get richer because all that money is going to find its way into Bitcoin. But yeah, hey, $1.4 trillion smash buy of Bitcoin. Who knows what that multiplier effect will be into Bitcoin? But I would venture to guess we would hit overnight prices that are unheard of right now. And then the US would magnify that exponentially and do the same thing and debase their currency. And then it seems like it's game over for this, and Bitcoin just wins like overnight. Obviously, as someone that's become more bearish on a strategic Bitcoin reserve recently, let's hope that they don't do this. I do not want China nor the U.S. government to hold that much Bitcoin. But hey, I don't mind the narrative around it. I think that's what Gary is saying, which is the biggest thing happening right now, that as we're seeing, we are kind of in bull market territory, and any good news is going to pump the price. And I think the narrative around a strategic Bitcoin reserve is a lot stronger than, if anything, even magnifies. So the fact that we're seeing this game theory play out, or like a Mexican standoff here where everyone's pointing guns and saying like, hey, we need to buy some Bitcoin, I think that is the catalyst here for pumping the Bitcoin price. It is narrative. It is rhetoric. Yes, we acknowledge that. But I think this is sending a huge signal around the world that you need to buy some Bitcoin. You can no longer sit on the sidelines right now, especially when you have countries in the Middle East, you have China, you have the US, you have basically all of the big superpowers and every, decent economy in the world talking about acquiring some Bitcoin. What are you doing sitting on the sideline as an individual right now? You should be buying Bitcoin. It's very simple. And you can tell that a lot of people still don't understand what is going on. Maybe it's because they don't understand what money is. But hey, the game theory is in overdrive. And it looks like the end of the year is going to get crazy if they turn on the money printer.
Absolutely.
If they buy 1.4 trillion, as Bailey's saying, and as you're saying, if the price goes to $1 million, what in the hell is MicroStrategy going to be worth? Is that going to be the most expensive stock
Sailor's
there is?
a trillionaire.
I mean, is that going to be like the most expensive stock on the planet, most valuable company on the planet? I don't know. I don't know what the numbers are on that, but I know it's going to move them up.
I think he's definitely, and I think, oh man, this is going to be crazy. It's going to be absolutely nuts. I mean, we've all been expecting this. It's just happening a lot faster than we anticipated. Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledn has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin-backed lending with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally have not only an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledn is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially, what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to HODL while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you. Check out Ledn.io today.